Hi everyone, I am Deric. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna talk about the 7 steps of retirement planning. As shown here, these are the 7 steps of retirement planning. I will first explain each of the 7 steps, then I will give you an example for illustration. Alright, step 1, set goals. Factors that you need to consider include: first, lifestyle. How costly a lifestyle do you want to live in retirement? Do you want to live like a king, or are you happy with a more modest lifestyle? Second, medical conditions. Do you have any costly medical conditions that you need to consider when planning for retirement? Third, relocation and travel. Do you want to relocate or travel during retirement? This can have a significant impact on your retirement expenses. Fourth, housing. Do you want to live in your own home or in a retirement community? The cost of housing can be very different if you take different options. Fifth, time frame. How long does it take for you to achieve your goals? You may need to determine how much you need to save each month and what rate of return you need to earn on your investments. The following are some examples of goals that you may set for retirement. First, at what age you want to retire. Most people retire between the ages of 60 and 65. Then, what activities do you want to do when you retire, such as going for vacation or some personal leisure activities? Next, any big items do you plan to purchase when you retire, like vehicles or houses? Another concern, any financial commitment would you have when you retire, such as child's education or your personal insurance? Step 2, estimate how much you will need. First, determine the monthly and annual expenses. You may write down all of the expenses, including housing, food, transportation, healthcare, entertainment, and so on. Then, assume 80% of your present living expenses for retirement. But this is only a rough estimate of how much you will need for your retirement. In case if you want to project a more accurate estimate, you may remove all the non-retirement expenses. For examples, you may not need to pay for your house loan or car loan when you retire. So, just deduct these loan amounts from your expenses. Next, add in the cost of other goals you set in step 1. These may include any additional expenses that you may need during retirement, such as travel, home repairs, and healthcare costs. In short, the workings to get the total annual retirement expenses would be: either you take the total annual expenses times 80% plus the additional goal expenses. Or alternatively, take total annual expenses minus non-retirement expenses plus the additional goal expenses. Both ways will give you the estimate of total annual retirement expenses needed. Do take note that, here we exclude the effects of tax. Step 3, estimate income at retirement. This part will be included if you'll receive income from the pension fund given by your employer, or if you have purchased any annuities from the insurance companies that will pay you retirement income when you retire. Or you may include any other income at retirement. Remember to estimate these incomes at today's value. Step 4, calculate the annual inflation-adjusted shortfall. You may calculate the difference between the totals in steps 2 and 3. This is the shortfall. After this, adjust the shortfall for inflation. Just take the shortfall, multiply with 1 plus I to the power of n, where I is the inflation rate, n is the number of years from now till you retire. Because inflation can increase the cost of living over time, so it's important to factor in the impact of inflation when estimating your retirement expenses. Step 5, calculate how much you need to cover this shortfall. In case if you have some other retirement funds, savings or investment, you may deduct them from the PV of annual inflation-adjusted shortfall. Then, you will get the final shortfall. After this, use the financial calculator to calculate the total amount of extra money you need to prepare before you retire. I will use an example to show you how to do the calculation later in this video. If you have no idea about how to use a financial calculator, you may click the link and watch the previous videos that I posted. Step 6. determine how much you must save annually between now and retirement. Just use the financial calculator to calculate the PMT. This is the amount of money you must save annually from now until retirement. Step 7. Put the plan in play and start saving. Here are some tips for you. Invest the surplus. It comes from the balance of your salary after deducting all the expenses. You may try to maximize your surplus either by increasing your income and/or reducing your expenses. Do asset allocation for your investments, which means you may invest your money in different types of assets such as stocks, bonds, real properties, and so on. Diversify your investments into different regions and sectors. It would reduce your risk if you can invest your money in different countries and industries. Invest on monthly basis. A good way to force yourself to invest is to sign up an automatic investment plan. Money will be automatically deducted from your savings account and transferred to your investment account on monthly basis. Also remember to review your plan annually. In case there are any changes, redo the calculation, check and make sure you are able to meet your retirement goals. Alright, now I'm going to give you an example for illustration. This is to show you how to do the calculation from step 1 to step 6. Assume that Mr. John is working as a secondary school teacher. Now he is 30 years old and he plans to retire at the age of 60, with a retirement period of 25 years. Here we can draw a timeline for his case. Step 1. Set goals. As John is single and he doesn't plan to get married, he has got only one goal for his retirement, which is to travel. The budget for his vacation is $10,000 per year. Step 2. Estimate how much he will need. Assume that John's total gross income is $72,000, total expenses is $60,000, so he has got an annual surplus of $12,000. Then, we apply the 80% rule. Taking $60,000 times 80%, the annual retirement expenses is $48,000, plus the additional goal expenses for vacation, which is $10,000, so the total annual retirement expenses will be $58,000. Step 3. Estimate income at retirement. Since John is working as a secondary school teacher, he will receive income from pension upon retirement. The income is expected to be 60% of his last drawn salary. So here, we take $72,000 times 60%, then we will get $43,200. This is the income from pension fund at today's value. Step 4. Calculate the annual inflation-adjusted shortfall. So, just calculate the difference between the totals in steps 2 and 3, you will get $10,800. Then, adjust your shortfall for inflation, provided the inflation rate is 4%, and there is a period of 30 years till his retirement. The annual inflation-adjusted shortfall is around $48,000. Step 5. Calculate how much he needs to cover this shortfall. First, using financial calculator, set annually compounding. N is the living years after retirement, 25 years. PMT is the annual inflation-adjusted shortfall we calculated in step 4. IY is inflation-adjusted investment return, 9% minus 4%. So, the PV is $676,541.47. This is the total amount of extra money John needs to prepare for his retirement. However, John is currently investing $2,000 in a mutual fund, so the PV can be reduced. Assume that the average return for this fund is 6.43%. If he holds the fund until he retires, which means another 30 more years to go, the future value of the fund will grow to nearly $13,000. Then, taking the total PV of annual inflation-adjusted shortfall minus the future value of the mutual fund, we will get the final shortfall, that is around $35,000. Step 6. Determine how much he must save annually between now and retirement. Using financial calculator, set annually compounding. N is the years to retirement, 30 years. FV is the final shortfall, which was calculated in step 5. IY, the investment return, assumed to be 9%. So, the PMT is $4,868.17. This is the amount of money John must save annually from now until he retires, so that the retirement goals can be achieved. Lastly, just make a comparison between the annual investment and the annual surplus. Since John's surplus is more than his annual investment, so we know this retirement plan is achievable. In fact, John can consider investing more using his surplus, so that he can accumulate even more money for his retirement.